award-winning journalist and author who is joining us today to talk all things current events and pop culture and his new book, Conversations in Black. Please welcome Ed Gordon. Oh, that's Detroit.
I know. I told you.
That's Detroit. That's
Detroit all day long. He looking like new money.
I see the Gators.
Yes.
Welcome to the show, Ed. Your journalism career has spanned over 3 decades.
Yeah.
I mean, fantastic career. You've interviewed everyone from presidents to music superstars. If you had to pick one, who is the person you most like interviewing?
Well, I mean, listen, for me, the person who really just stopped me in my tracks was Nelson Mandela.
Wow.
No question about
Wow.
it. I mean, I've had a great career, had the opportunity to interview so many people. My most famous interview was the O.J. Simpson interview. The interview that people ask me most about is the interview with Tupac.
Really?
Yeah, without question. I've
yeah.
got kids who weren't even born when I did that interview who come up to me and say, you the Tupac dude, right? But without question for me, Nelson Mandela.
Nelson Mandela.
Yes.
Great.
Well, we here are super excited about your book, Conversations in Black. And you, in the book, you've interviewed people like Maxine Waters and T.I. and Charlamagne the God. And you also have one chapter focused on the president's legacy. So what are your thoughts, the President Obama's legacy?
Yeah.
So what are your thoughts on his run, on his presidency?
Well, what we did is we interviewed 40 leaders and influencers in the book, and it did run the gamut. And we wanted to look back with a mirror and see about President Obama. You know, so many people of color talk about, you know, my forever president, and this is our guy. And, of course, juxtaposing him with the dude in the White House now, it's easy to see where you look back and you're fond of it. But I think it was extraordinary what he was able to do. I didn't think I'd ever live to see an African-American in that office. So I think that it's extraordinary what he was able to do. You can argue, as it is in the book, whether he did enough for African-Americans and people of color. But that's, you know, the political side of it. But in terms of breaking that ceiling and making a whole generation of people not have the baggage that I had. You know, my daughter, who's 25, will grow up and never have to worry about ever thinking I can't achieve that. So it was
That's true.
Yeah.
That's true.
Speaking of presidents, would you ever want to interview President Trump?
No, I'll get you before you even finish. No. You know, listen, people lie to you sometimes during interviews. They come on and they tell you, but why would you go into an interview when you know that person's going to lie to you? Right?
Wow.
So I would tell you, I would honestly see it as a waste of time. As much as a journalist, you want to interview anybody who's in the news and can make a difference, I would tell you I would pass.
All right.
So, over the past 4 years, I think it's safe to say that people have become a lot more comfortable with expressing racist views very boldly. Do you feel that's indicative of where we are politically? Like, do you feel like, is it a result of his administration?
Well, I think it's part of it. You know, I think that with the administration that Trump has put in, people are more open about, you know, their true beliefs. I don't know, maybe that's good for us, but in a sense, we've got to really objectively look at where racism is in this country. I think so many of us believe that we were past certain points that clearly we are not.
Right.
And so I think it's fair to assume that that's part and parcel of having this man in office and listening to the things that he's told us and said, that people are comfortable, and it's dangerous. And it's dangerous. And if we just walk away and say, oh, well, that's just who he is and it's foolish, the things that he's put forth in office are going to affect us for generations.
Yeah.
So it's sad and it's dangerous.
Yeah.
I like this. They just
Right?
clap at anything.
They like it.
They get it.
They like it.
They'll
Tell them.
let you know what they think. Yeah, they sure will.
And if they don't like it, they ain't gonna clap.
They'll be
They keep it
silent,
real.
right.
I won't tell.
Yes. Do you think journalism and the news will ever get back to being trusted?
Well, you know what? It's not like when I grew up. You know, I grew up and I aspired to be like Walter Cronkite or, you know, I used to watch Brian Gumbel and Max Robinson and people, and there was a sense of gravitas to the news, of believability. I mean, even people come up to me and talk about, you know, oh, Ed, we believed what you said, though, you know, I'm not this dude. I was 2 votes away from class clown in high school. I'm not this dude. But I think that news, unfortunately, has changed. And it's a bunch of opinion.
Yeah.
You know, you get a little bit of a headline, and then it's a bunch of opinion. And that's cool for a minute. But night in and night out, I don't need to know what you're thinking, you know?
Yeah.